Hey, hello, and welcome to this Swedish guy talking about ND filter today. No, just kidding. I'm going to try to speak some better English and try to make you guys understand what I say. I'm from Sweden, so there might be some Swedish in this video. But I was thinking about this video because when I started with landscape photography, I was pretty excited to, of course, learn everything, and I wanted to do those long exposure, beautiful shots of both the stars and, of course, water that are streaming in the photo and out of the photo, or just a beautiful waterfall that is centered in the photo. But I did not know anything about filters, of course, and now I have used filters for quite some time. But what I have learned is, as this video is called, don't start with ND filters, use polarizing filters instead. And that is mainly because, well, thinking now that I would have actually been better off starting with. Because my first filter was an ND, no, I don't have it here, but it was an ND 10 stop. Because I thought I needed to go really dark and extremely long exposure, because I wanted to get flow in the photo. Mainly my aim was water, and what I have learned now is often there is better to have not too long exposure, like 6 to 7 seconds, or even longer. I had sometimes I had 15 seconds. Of course, there are art in making long exposure like that also. So there's actually nothing right and wrong. It's just what you're aiming for. If you're aiming for the natural, more natural looking, I should say, like you want the movement in the water, the sky normal, and the leaves in the forest, if you are in the forest, not moving too much, then I should suggest you are starting with something simpler like an ND filter that are variable ND filter, so you can turn it and make it darker or lighter, and instead use one of these and put up the aperture to f16 or something, so you have 1/4 second, 1/60 second exposure instead, because then you have a bit more texture in the water, and we have learned to get the texture in the water, you can upgrade. Of course, if not your aim is to have the sky all blurred out and the cloud is just rushing by, as you can see in this photo, and of course there is art as well, but my mainly focus in landscape was to learn to make more natural looking photos and catch the water's movement and combine it with the beauty of mountain or the dramatic sky. I will show two photos, one with 1 second of exposure, 1 second exposure, and the other one is 0.6 second. And I think the one with 0.6 second is slightly better because you have a bit more texture in the water and you see the movement.
As you can see in these two pictures, you have to the right with the mill, this one is a 1 second exposure, and to the left you have the waterfall, or not so much of a waterfall, but it's water flowing in the photo, of course. There you have a 0.6 second exposure, and in my opinion, if we zoom in, You can see as it's hitting the rock, I think you have a bit more texture. You can see the water a bit more flowing. Maybe these two are the best one to compare with, but if you are looking at this part particularly, or this part when it hits the rock, you have more texture. When I go to this photo, let's see, over here you have this part. You can compare these two quite well. Here you have a bit more texture. You see the movement on the right, on the left one, and when you go to the right, you can see there are not so much movement. It's a bit more like ice cream or something more that just flowing together. So you don't have the texture, the water splashing. It's, in my opinion, a bit too much flowing together.
If you only use an ND filter and you buy, like I did, the biggest stop, like 10 stop, then you won't be able to go down to about 1/4 second, 1/3 second in shutter speed. You will probably have to be up in 5 seconds. Maybe when the sun is really bright, you can come down to about, probably get down to 1/4 of a second, but then will it be in the midday? So if you have a big 10 stop, you will probably don't be able to go down to the right amount of shutter speed. So I would recommend start with an ND filter that are variable. I probably pronounced that wrong, but variable, you know what I mean. And when you have learned to take a bit more photos with the texture in the water, then you can upgrade and you can buy more ND filter that are pretty expensive. So that's one point also. I bought this Nikon 14 to 24 millimeters aperture 2.8, and this one, it's a great lens, but it also costs money. And when I bought this one, I had some old ND filters that were for the smaller amount. So okay, then I noticed, how should I put the ND filter on this one? Well, of course, I had to buy this one. This is actually a cheaper kind of filter holder. It's Benro. It's great. It's perfect for my needs. I'm actually very happy with it. The downside with a cheaper one is not so user friendly. It's do the job perfect, that's no doubt, but it's not user friendly. When you have to put it on and put it off, lock this. There are today filters with magnetics onto the lens. I'm not sure if you have it to this one, the 14 to 24 Nikon, but there are some magnetic filters, depending on what you're using for lens, that are way easier and way faster to work with than this one. But I had to buy this one. It's about 90 euro actually. And then I started with an ND filter. I first bought a big one like this, that is 10 stop, and I noticed it's a bit too much. Maybe I have to go down a bit, so I bought a 0.9, and that wasn't either the perfect for me, because then I got too much light in. So then I bought 1.8, and 1.8 has worked perfect for me, because then I'm in the middle of a bit longer exposure sometimes, and sometimes a faster exposure. For now I mainly use 0.9 and 1.8, because I don't want to do extremely long exposure unless it's night sky or I want those dramatic clouds rushing over in the photo. But for mainly using it to landscape, my opinion is you won't use it as often as you think. Once again, my opinion is start with a polarizer filter, and also with a polarizer filter it will enhance the color a bit. So during fall it's perfect. Start with this one, and if you have problems having lower, or I mean faster shutter speed, because this is letting in too much light, then rather go up in aperture like f16, because you will still get beautiful sharp photos all the way in the photo. When you're starting out, you want to learn the texture in the water, how to make it blend with the sky, with the background, with the middle ground. This is just for you as a beginner with filter to maybe not overspend money on things you don't need right now to get the result you want. You have actually got value with the things you bought first, so you stepping it up. I have done this in many other areas, this fault of buying that stuff because I thought I needed that, and I bought that stuff because I thought I needed that. This is probably something we all do when we start out, but I hope this video have been giving you some insight. You would probably start with a polarizer filter instead of just wasting money. I've said polarizer filter 200 times in this video. I'm sorry, but this is one of my first videos, so bear with me. If you find this helpful, consider subscribing and follow me. I will try to do some more videos when I'm out shooting landscape, something for a friend, his Jeep or something. And I will also try to make videos about the gear I use and what I've learned from my experience, and mainly tell you what I have done wrong, so you don't have to do it also and don't have to waste money on unnecessary stuff. I will also try to do a video soon about this bag, the Low Pro 400 AV. This was my first real camera bag, and I want to do a review, or more like a video that I talk about how this bag has been for me, because in my opinion, a great bag to start with. We'll put those anti-filters and the polarizer filter that I use in the link below. Well, I hope I see you in the next video, and until then, take care. Bye.